Ever thought how AI impacts a technology platform company? Well, today we're going to address that in our AI Unscripted series. And today I am here with the general manager of Microsoft, Marijke Schroos, and I'm also here with my colleague Michiel De Keyzer. Thanks for being here. That's,
Pleasure.
I think, the starting point. In previous sessions, we've talked about AI from more a user perspective, or people that were interested in. But of course, for Microsoft, it's a completely different ballgame. Eh? It's your core, or one of your core businesses.
Yes.
How is it impacting Microsoft?
Well, of course, we're also users of the technology, but we're also bringing the technology to market. And it was actually, I became general manager after 18 years at Microsoft about 3 years ago, in October, when actually the OpenAI big announcements were going. So I think it's the ideal time to be a country manager because so much is impacted on the economy of also society. So it's quite exciting to be in this role and also helping companies and institutions to get more out of technology.
Okay. And Michiel, you're working closely with Microsoft because we're one of the partners.
I think it's one of our main partners, global alliance, but also on Belgian level, we are working very closely together in bringing that technology to our customers and having an impact with it. So yes, it's a very good collaboration. I think we see more and more projects where together we are successful, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe there are indeed two aspects. You've got the external thing and then your internal transformation. Let's focus first on the internal transformation because that's a challenge for all, also for us, PwC. How is that going? Because you have different profiles than we may have. Is that an easy ride?
No, I think you never underestimate the change management, even in a company where the passion is very high for IT and tools and what we bring to market, of course. It's still a lot of change management because you're used to do things the way you're doing it. And there is so much now to learn and to unlearn. So it was not that easy. I thought as well when we were introducing Copilot, everyone is going to go full in. It was not the case. Yeah, everyone was like testing it, but not taking it to the full advantage of the tool. So we actually set up a governance, and I had like weekly reports that I was sharing with all people managers on how the daily adoption of Copilot, for example, was going. And we saw that typical things like leader communication, making sure that you share prompts, community feeling, even in a company as Microsoft was very important to get the uptake to at least 90-95% daily usage. Some people take holidays. We see now that it's even becoming higher because also in private life, people are getting used to just use Copilot for a lot of things they were not thinking about that much before.
Which is funny to see because we're facing with the same dilemma.
It's very similar. We see the same at our clients, but also with us internally. It's not enough to just make the tools available. There are people that take it on board like naturally and start doing it, and these are also your champions. But it requires an effort to get people, using it properly and really having an impact with that. You need to hold their hands. You need to have training. You need to foresee coaching, sharing as well, community building. I think all those things we see at PwC as well, and also at our clients, at the client side. Yeah.
I had a very interesting chart that Jay Parrick, who is our worldwide EVP for Core AI on adoption. He said there are actually two types of persons at Microsoft, and actually it's like one in the chart is going like this. Like small increases, and those are the ones that are saying, wow, this is just so useful. We're using it for everything, and we look at this prompt, and it's giving what I need. And then you've got an adoption like this, and also the increased value towards the business is like this. And those are the ones that are challenging the tools and are actually saying, I would expect that it does this already, and shouldn't we do better prompting? Shouldn't we do better integration of data or whatever to really get to the limit of what the tools can bring, and that is where the real drive is. So when you were saying, there are some people very excited, at a certain moment, it's okay then to have people as well challenging the system quite a lot because it's giving you a higher degree of adoption and also higher value towards your business.
Yeah, it's funny, because with every technology implementation, you would always foresee traditionally a training program, a change management trajectory, and for some reason, sometimes with AI, this is forgotten because people assume that it's being used already by everyone in their personal life, for instance. But yeah, using it in their professional life is still something different, and it's also not the case that everybody uses it in their personal life. And I would even say that change management in the context of AI is even more complex because you have the trust aspect. It is known that AI has some biases, that there is a black box, so there is sometimes mistrust. And also it's changing so fast. So the fact that it's not a stable solution, let's say. Yeah. So it's changing very rapidly, and as such, that also comes with the challenges when it comes to change management. So it's even more important, I would say, than with maybe traditional software implementations. So
yeah, we tend to overestimate also the short-term impact and underestimate the long-term impact, which is of course an open door, but it is definitely also true in AI.
Yes.
But the problem that I see often is that it's incredibly difficult to quantify the impact. If it's now efficiency or top line, what is now really driven by AI? Is that something that you're also struggling with?
It's changing quite rapidly. I think the first excitement about AI was just using it, trying out, playing with it, and maybe not always to the business KPIs that you want to get out of it. I think part of the change management process is also to make sure that you start with, okay, this is a process. What would we like to? What is the problem about this process? How can we increase the KPIs, and how can AI help achieving those? With then very clear ruling on how you're gonna set it up. And as soon as you start thinking about which problems or which opportunities do we want to address and how AI can help with that, it's a totally different discussion. And then you see the true business value. And most of the cases that come out of these exercises, hackathons, or in any kind of format or form, when you do that, you see typically either ROIs or business value increasement or productivity increasement between 30 and 50% easily. And then it makes also much more sense for a business owner to start investing in what AI can really bring to the business.
Okay. And what's then the role of a Belgian or a Benelux organization in the global Microsoft mastodont? Because of course it's a mega organization.
Yeah, I think a very important role. So of course we are representatives of Microsoft to the market, but also representative of the market towards Microsoft. So meaning that we translate whatever the engineering teams are developing into, okay, how can we serve the customer needs? But if it's not enough, or there are improvements to be made, that we can also funnel it back to engineering so that it's a loop. And I think being very close to the market, very close to the customers in all kinds of forms, because we've got very small customers and the very big ones. We've got public sector and we've got the commercial companies, very regulated industries and more global-oriented commercial industries, to make sure that we capture everything, what they need, and get it back to the mothership is, I think, very important.
Because how many people do we have in Belgium?
In Belgium, we are 550 in total. Okay. About 350 are really addressing the Belgian market. The rest is more like what we call RGEs, so the regional guests, like, for example, Philippe Rogge, who is actually the worldwide public sector lead. He just came back to Microsoft, but he lives in Belgium, so he's noted in Belgium, but not really addressing only the Belgian market, of course.
Okay. And ideas like alliances, because again, we are one of the alliance partners. That's really core of the strategy, I guess.
Yes, that's always been the case. Microsoft was from day one a partner-oriented organization. And I think even more now with AI, we want to partner with others. I think for companies like PwC, the value of working together with Microsoft has only increased, because of course with AI you touch every single business aspect as well. So you have a lot of contacts with the business parties, and we used to be more at the IT side. But with AI, of course, it all comes together. It's business decision making in all kinds of forms. And I think that also increased our partnership quite a bit.
That's a transformative part.
Yes.
Indeed. Yeah. So I think the complementarity is that we know the industry, the client sometimes very well, the processes that they run within certain functions, being finance or HR or whatever. And so, to to make sure that the technology has an impact, you need to make it land within the organization, within the processes, and that's, I think, where we can help. I mean, we can look at the opportunities within the processes, but then the products or the technology makes it come to life, basically, and so that is 1 + 1 is 3, so it's a very good collaboration, and we have some very nice examples already, both in public and in private sector, so where we've managed to do that, so yeah.
And who's then typically the audience for those types of discussions within companies?
It's all kind of audiences, I would say.
Because how do you start that discussion?
Yes, but what surprised me maybe a bit personally is so I've been driving a bit the AI journey for PwC and also towards our clients from, let's say, the launch of ChatGPT, where everything has started. And what surprised me a little bit is that it's not at all an IT discussion. The workshops that we've had are largely with CFOs and their teams, CHROs and their teams, procurement teams, legal teams, and so on. So all business teams. In a lot of cases, the CIO or IT is in the room, but they're not saying that much. And it's really a business-driven discussion. And that's where it starts. And what has also remarkable for me throughout that journey is that it has never been that easy to brainstorm about where we can use AI, because people are using it in their personal lives. They have played around. It's so easy to start using it and to try things out that people already come with ideas to the table. Not always ideas that you would say in the end we will solve it with AI, but that's also for PwC. That's not really the end game. I mean, we are there for the transformation, and whatever idea that can help transforming, let's say, the way you are doing things, whether it's with AI or without AI, is a good idea, I would say. And that is a nice, let's say, discussions to have with the client. So and that's the starting point. But then the difficult thing is then, of course, how do you bring it to the next level? How do you start making it tangible, building stuff, implementing it well, with everything that comes with that, like change management and so on. Yeah. So that's, I think, still also where the market is a bit maturing, in my opinion, but where steps are being taken and more it becomes concrete.
Which is also linking to the question as to why are they doing it? Because you're not just using Copilot because the others are doing it. There needs to be a purpose, I would say.
Yes.
Otherwise it remains at the playing stage.
Yes.
And do you see a maturity increase there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We see very, very good usage, not just on Copilot, not just on M365 Copilot. We've got many Copilots, of course, but we see it in all kinds of areas, like with the developers, GitHub Copilot is like going very rapidly in the adoption. Security Copilot is typically also something that works really well, or their own developed generative AI solutions based on the processes and the solutions they have in place. But I think it's crucial now, because you were referring to the fact that most of the employees are already using it as a consumer. It's really important that companies are looking into it, because if they start to use it as a consumer with the business data, without taking into account all of the things that also the guardrails that you need to be set up, then it's, I think, a very vulnerable situation you're in as a company.
Which is also very explicit in your mission statement as to, the ethical use of AI, and that's indeed true. And without even addressing the environmental aspects of that, is that something that you see also within the organization of Microsoft, that people are starting to say, how far do you want to go?
I think we are, for our own usage, and of course what we bring to markets, we have defined very good governance and also the guardrails. So we have a lot of principles in which we navigate. Of course, there are a few things like data classification. All of documents, I cannot just send it to you. I really have to go through quite some steps, because otherwise it's secured. So I cannot, because it's important, of course, if you're using the data in AI models, that you're 100% sure that data can be shared. But also on the setup of the models, there is a lot in there that we define, like it cannot be harassment, it cannot be, etc. But it's, of course, we can do it already as a base in the systems, but it's still the customer that needs to make decisions there. Because if you say, okay, we don't want to have sexual abuse, for example, or any language in there, but you're working for the police specifically on those cases, then you need to turn it down as well. And you need to be able to say, okay, no, those are explicitly the ones that we want to see popping up. So it is important as a company to really think about it. Okay, what do we want to get out of it? what are the rulings we are going to use, and then use it very responsibly. Also to avoid bias, for example, if it's only one developer who is developing something at Microsoft, it has to go through a specific board to see whether there is no bias in there. So there are many, many different things, and we are very vocal also towards all of our employees on what we're doing there and how it works. We've got a lot of training as well to make sure that they understand very well. So on those areas, I don't think there is much doubt that we're doing the right thing, and we're setting up the tools to do the right thing as well.
And also that is not only a tooling question. I think it's about education of people, defining guardrails, as part of building trust in how you use it, how you can trust the outcome, but also, trustworthy and the responsible use of the AI. I think it's also something where PwC can help to define those guardrails, to help people educate on what you can or cannot do, or should not do, define the policies, but train the people in the...
And also how reliable the thing is that comes out of the machine.
Indeed. What questions you should ask yourself, indeed, if you get a certain outcome on bias, for instance, and have a critical mindset looking at it, by looking at it, indeed.
Checking some of the sources as well.
Because there are people advocating that we need to tone it down a bit, and it doesn't have to be less high performing as an approach, but that it basically should guide, definitely in the education system, it should guide the people rather than providing the end deliverable. Which of course is a question, if you are 15, 16, will you accept that it's basically suboptimal and it doesn't provide you an end product and only prompts and what have you? So I think, the truth is probably in the middle.
I think so, but it's you could easily set that up that way, that the responses would come to really stimulate the critical consciousness. And in a certain course or at a certain age, it might be very interesting to have these as well. That's also generative AI, to use it to train their critical consciousness as well, and to see whether they are taking the right decisions. And I think it's really important, if you want to get the best out of the new technology, that we are very conscious about it, and that we make sure that our children are also educated in a way that they can handle it and can only use it for the good, not for the bad.
And are there links with the educational system?
Yes, we do a lot with education, a lot. And I also have a lot of discussions with the education field, because I think it's important. It's new for everyone. So we need to make sure that we provide whatever we can provide them with to make the right decisions. And they are they are the educators, of course. They know what is good for the children as well. So we need to go hand in hand to say, okay, what is possible, what is needed, and bring that together.
Instead of pushing it back.
Yes.
Which is...
And there's a lot of work there, I think, in our Belgian education system. My wife is a teacher, so there's a lot of work to also teach the teachers, let's say, so they can then teach the students and show that it's something that you should embrace, not fight, but embrace it in a responsible way, let's say. And I think, there's a lot of work there to be done. So,
but we're not. I think you say in Belgium, but we're not unique. I think
no, exactly. Probably it's not a unique problem for Belgium alone. Yeah, indeed.
So what's next, you think? We talked about in previous sessions on agents, but what's difficult to predict. You don't have a crystal ball, but in 2-3 years' time,
I think the scale and the speed will only go up. I think each and every process will be fully agentic, so meaning that you have your agents in your organization. So I think people need to be able to prompt, but also need to manage agents and have a very good AI governance in place. And then I think the way we work will be totally different from what we do right now. All of the repetitive tasks, all of the things we can outsource we will have agents as well next to our normal colleagues. If you then add quantum to it, you see that the power of AI will increase quite a bit. And if you then look into applications in pharma, for example, to find new medication, what is impossible now because there are too many components available and it's too hard to find the right components. Thanks to generative AI in combination with quantum, it will be very easy to get the right components and bring them up. So I'm a positivist. I'm a very big believer in technology, and I'm really sure that it can help solve quite a few of the world problems. I really believe so. So I think the combination of the quantum and the AI that we, and then the right usage, of course, making sure that we educate well and make sure that we keep ourselves accountable for using it for the good. I think that's really the next.
But contrary to AI, quantum will in fact not be visible to the user.
No, it will only be visible in the results.
In the results. So, and is that something that we are also looking into?
We're definitely looking into it from different perspectives. For instance, for also post-quantum security, these kind of things. If we prepare organizations to be secure, that we already take that into account. So these are things that we are already looking into, yes, definitely, yes.
Maybe a question on, because you talked about private, public sectors. We had difficult discussions in terms of budget recently. Are we lagging behind in the public sector, or are we contrary, basically front-running? So my question is, who is going faster than the other one, or is it difficult to compare?
It's always a bit difficult to compare, of course. But I think, I'm quite proud on how Belgium is doing. Of course, Belgium is also a public sector. Belgium doesn't really exist. You've got many different organizations, and they have different speed as well. But if you look what the Flemish government is doing, but also how police is looking into it, how justice is doing. So I think defense, there are many great examples where we are really front running on a lot of other countries. So I'm happy that we are embracing it that much, and that we are looking into what the possibilities it brings. And budget constraints can be a very good one to really look into how AI can help. How can we look into budget spend, take better decisions there? But how can we create more budgets by maybe fraud detection, these type of things? Or how can we increase the productivity of people? I think there are so many themes coming out of that challenge that it becomes an opportunity also to address with technology.
Yeah, because you talked already about return on investment, but that's a fact also what we are doing in a number of cases, building a business case for change, because it's not just a gimmick. No one is using AI, we need to do the same. There needs to be something in return.
Yeah, and that's something that we try to bring into the equation as from the start, as from the initial brainstorm. Okay, it is not a showstopper if you don't have a full view on the ROI as from the start, but at least it's something that you need to think about as from the start. I think the important thing in that equation is that that you also need to know what impact you want to have. So it's not only about knowing where the impact is, but maybe you should think in the beginning, where do we want to have impact, and find the impact that you want to have, plant the flag, dare to plant the flag, and work towards that flag. Maybe you don't get there, but okay, at least you will have had an impact, and then you also are sure that you move in the right direction. And there might be pleasant or unpleasant surprises along the way, but I think that's an important one.
Yeah, great. Maybe a bit of a rapid fire. So basically, short questions. You don't have to think too long. And one word, one sentence max.
One word or one sentence?
Yeah, you can choose whatever you want. The first AI app that you use on every day?
That would be my M365 chat on mobile. So when I'm like getting awake, I already ask, what did I miss? It's a prompt I always use. What did I miss over the last 12 hours? Because of course we are US-based company as well, so a lot is happening there. And then it looks into my Teams chats, my calendar, my email, just to see, okay, are there things that you need to follow up rapidly? That's the first one I use in the morning.
A bit of publicity, that's okay.
Sorry, but it is the first one.
No, but it is what it is.
It's the same for me. I mean, but more for forward-looking, what is on the agenda for today, and more in that aspect. But indeed, it's exactly the same for me. M365 Copilot,
The biggest mistake that you made using AI so far?
Using AI so far, I think from a company perspective, the change management, but also for myself, making sure, because it goes fast and the possibilities are endless, to make sure that you spend enough time to reflect and to say, no, I'm not going to do it that way, I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to ask it. And I became a very good prompt engineer, really good. We had some competition in Europe North, and I was actually the winner, because I'm getting if you're training yourself and you're really saying, no, I'm just going to reflect, what do I really want, for which audience, then you get the results are just amazing. So I think that was at the beginning a little bit, the fast and furious, like quickly do it, and then get some results out of it and already be like, wow, what are results? But if you really take it at heart, I think it gives a big difference.
For me, it's probably showing it to my kids. My biggest mistake, the power of ChatGPT, showing it to my kids, because they asked for my phone on a daily basis to play around with ChatGPT or to create a picture. So that's
But they would have done it
mistake.
even without you.
They probably would have done it without me as well. But okay, I still blame myself.
Maybe a last question I have is, you're also heavily involved in diversity and inclusion initiatives. And of course, the haves, have-nots, the digital divide can only accelerate, I'm afraid, with AI. Is that a concern that you have?
I don't think it's going to broaden. I think it can be much more narrow, because if you look at inclusion, the fact that you have AI also includes a lot of groups that maybe don't have access now to technology, because you can do a lot with voice, you can do a lot with... So there are many new scenarios to audiences that maybe were a little bit left behind before. I do believe that we need to make sure that the digital skilling is going up in Belgium, so making sure that everyone knows, but the entry to the technology becomes a lot easier. So I think it's going to close the divide more than it will be broadened.
You're an optimist, that's good.
Yeah,
you need to be. It's our moral obligation.
Yes.
Yeah,
but I really
very clear example of that is already that language becomes less important. The information, all the underlying information can be. We did a small book with the Flemish government on parliamentary information. It's all in Dutch, but you could ask the question in Ukraine or Arabic or whatever, and still get an answer based on the Dutch information of what has been discussed in the parliament. So the barrier of languages becomes much lower, and that is, I think, a very important aspect, or let's say, enabler for inclusion. So yeah. I'm also an optimist, in other words. Okay, with that and with these wise words, I would again like to thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And also thanks for tuning in, of course, to yet another episode of AI Unscripted. And as you have seen, it doesn't really matter if you are now focusing on AI as your core or one of your core businesses or not. The problems are basically not problems. They are challenges. They are not really challenges. They are opportunities. And it's that we basically need to focus on. And yes, we will also focus on that in the next set of episodes. So tune in to the next episodes of AI Unscripted. Thank you and bye-bye.